And in honor of Black History Month, we're going to look back now at how part of that history is spreading mistrust of the COVID vaccine through the black community. And if you know the history, it's not hard to see why. News 4's Erica Byfield has the story of a local doctor who's addressing the past to save lives in the present.
At Hackensack Meridian Health Jersey Shore University Medical Center, IT specialist Dennis Hubbard sees the worst of the pandemic.
I'm in the emergency room. I'm on the floors that's designated for COVID floors, and I'm watching them as they die. I see them there one day, and then they die the next.
Still, he had no interest in getting the vaccine.
It was in my head that, it's not a good thing to take. The government will experiment on you.
Hubbard's fears are hardly unique, despite the fact that black Americans die at nearly twice the rate as whites from COVID. A recent survey found that 1/3 of black adults probably or definitely won't get vaccinated. Reasons include fears of contracting the virus, distrust of vaccines, and skepticism about how it was tested.
It's very, very deep historical issue.
At Columbia University, Dr. Olagide Williams says this is the reality.
The African American experience has been one of experimentation and some really horrendous treatment.
Most notorious, the Tuskegee syphilis experiment. In 1932, researchers tricked hundreds of black men in Alabama, telling them that they'd get treatment for the disease, only to stand by, and despite knowing that penicillin could treat them, did nothing. The government-backed scheme continued into the 1970s, and then there were the experiments performed on enslaved women and operations on others without anesthesia. Others were used for research without their permission, most notably Henrietta Lacks. Dr. David Kuntz is facing those historical horrors head-on in his mission to vaccinate people of color.
I think it's presumptive to say a single conversation will necessarily change a lot of people's mind, but we have to stick with it.
Right?
I'm great.
Beautiful.
He uses his own vaccination, seen here in December, as a starting point.
One of the first questions I get is, well, did you get the shot? And I said, I did. And I said, I felt great about it.
But typically, that's not enough to win people over.
I talk to them for a few minutes, and they just look back at me, and they just shake their head, and they just don't feel comfortable.
Count Dennis Hubbard among them.
I was honest with them. I told them that, I'm a black man in America. Our history, America and the history of how they treat the black people, period, is just not good.
There was a similar message being delivered at Southern Baptist Church in Asbury Park by Pastor Samaj Van Zant.
I just let them know my truth, right? That we're not going to get vaccines and do not get it.
Enter Dr. Kuntz preaching his truth.
Sometimes it's both the message and the messenger.
He was one of the first people that I talked to who did not deny the history, right, of the medical community and black and brown communities.
That frank conversation, combined with a mountain of research for the pastor, changed everything.
Didn't see myself coming around, but I am glad I did.
Did he ever?
Getting ready to register you for the vaccine.
Now his church holds vaccine registration phone drives, recently helping 200 black people in the area get vaccinated in 1 week. He finds plenty of resistance.
We meet the people who were just like me, who were like, I don't want a vaccine, no thank you.
Yet he presses on, bringing up former one-time church member Douglas Hill when he must.
Come get your official Second Baptist Church mastership.
Hill recently died from COVID, a very real reminder of the danger within his congregation.
I'm going to keep at it as long as I can. We are in a pandemic. This is a crisis time, and so many entities of our society are hurting because of it.
Dr. Kuntz says if you understand the science of the vaccine, then it all comes down to a matter of heart.
Really think about not just yourself, but our community. That we want our children to go back to school. We want to see our parents and our grandparents.
Back at Jersey Shore University Medical Center, it's an appeal that spoke directly to Dennis Hubbard, who finally got the vaccine.
I feel a lot safer now as I walk, as I do my job, as I go home, and the people that I'm around, my loved ones, I feel better that I'm around them, that I'm protected against COVID, knowing that I won't pass the virus, if I did come in contact with it, onto them.
Erica Byfield, News 4, New York.